How was your time in Berlin? You stayed for 3 years, I think, no? How long did you stay in Berlin?
8 years.
8 years.
Yeah, off and on for 8 years. Yeah.
Is this why, when you quote the history of cinema, there are so many German filmmakers like Fassbinder and company who are important for you?
Yeah, New German cinema and also the Volksbühne. I went to see quite a few pieces there, and Ulrike Ottinger and Herzog, but also I loved these New York like 70s filmmakers, like Cassavetes or all the Warhol films. I love those as well. I mean, I think part of it is the way that my films connect to sculptures. So, they're not quite cinema films. I mean, and so there's something about the reality of the people in front of the camera and the way that they're not quite acting because they're not quite actors that I loved in this genre of films, like New German cinema and these 70s films, American films. But part of it is budget also, because I shoot so cheaply. I mean, sometimes I'm doing the camera and the lighting and I'm directing and I wrote it, so it's like the part where everything's being held together with tape. And then the only thing you have, that's your piece of equipment is like a pink gel. And that's your equipment, that's your Heinz.
But you like that, because there is always a low-tech side in your films. So you seem to like that, to show also this tape decoration, to integrate it in something different.
Yeah, I think for me, it's the way that film connects to sculpture, that my films are always showing their own making, in that way. And so, I mean, I want this experience of looking at my films to have a physical quality, like you could reach in and touch the objects. And so breaking the illusion of the moment, I think, is something that I'm really interested in. You can never quite believe it, but then it's always real what's happening.
Yeah. And I think this idea of film like sculpture is very important. You said once that the directors you like Fassbinder or Abel Ferrara also, they create like rooms. So it's not like spaces. You wouldn't say rooms, spaces. And a sculpture also works in space. So it's a space. It's something you can touch and also you can move in.
Yeah, Hitchcock also, who's someone that I looked at too, or some Kubrick where like the sets are really constructed, where there are like objects. I mean, I'd look at the objects not in the films, but look at them, the set pieces, find images of the set pieces and look at how they were made. And I think because I produce sculpture as well, that idea of like making an object that makes a film or making an object that has a performance in it.
4, 3, 2, 1, 0. I'd like you to relax. Relax your body, your shoulders, your arms, your mind, to feel the ocean, waves through your body, rolling.
I'm very interested in the way that the moving image can produce a body response that's connected to a mind response. So when I was working on the ghosts, the ghosts, I wrote the script for the ghosts after I had been blocked for maybe half a year. I couldn't make any work. And I was going to hypnotists and then also to these sensory deprivation tanks. There's one in Berlin, or there was one at the time, that, the sensory deprivation tanks were in like a pyramid shape. I mean, they're really amazing. It was like a kind of funny science fiction prop that was left over. So you'd climb into this pyramid, this white pyramid filled with saline water. But the way that the sensory deprivation tanks would kind of deny any image production or sound production for your body, makes your body involuntarily produce images. And that experience reminded me of dreams or the unconscious, or all of these moments when you're looking at something directly, but you're thinking of something else, and those two things merge together. So when I was cutting the ghosts, I had this memory in mind, I guess, of this experience. And I tried my first attempt at cutting the footage. I tried to cut it according to like a math problem that I would write for myself, this series of cuts not connected to time. And then I would do an edit according to a mathematical sequence that I would just come up with, then sit back and watch the edit and see what happened. This like an unconscious kind of edit. So the Ghosts is the first time I'm using this very physical editing that, again, is supposed to kind of allow the viewer to let go of a conscious analysis of what's going on in the screen and actually have a physiological response to it, to be pushed through their eyes into like a kind of state of being.
That was the first time in Ghost that you used these procedures.
Yeah.
And you continue to use them because, for instance, if we show the white wolf, it's something which works also through subconscious commonplaces from horror movies, for instance, from the werewolf stories, and also very physical reactions. And there is the low-tech side I was talking about before.
Yes, yeah. The editing is quite physical, on every film after that, because I found that to be a really powerful experience, this thing of being jolted out of the dialogue. And I think with some films and writers that I was looking at, I became interested in a kind of writer that would kind of flip between something like a predictable kind of kitsch scenario. Like, I think that a writer like Dennis Cooper, for example, can have these dialogue moments that are almost saccharine. They're almost too simple, and then he'll move to a very complex kind of action that unfolds in the novel. And I think I began to think about that, about having this kind of performance of dialogue or a performance of a scene, this predictable scene, and then having it be ruptured by either a visual or, something else happening, something physical happening, kind of turning a film inside out in that way through the structure.
I've always lived on this island. Most of us have. The rest came later, sick people looking for a cure. For as long as I can remember, I've dreamed of an escape. I read about an ancient city in the middle of the desert. Shibam, Hadramaut, Rub al-Khali, Yemen. I'd like to live someplace that doesn't touch the ocean. I've been at the clinic for 5 years. People come here from all over. Last year, there was a man from Paris. He was a dancer. He danced with the Paris Opera. He was stuck in bed for a month, barely able to move. But one night, I snuck him out of the hospital and took him to the local bar. He said he would bring me back to Paris with him when he was healed.
What other layers do you use to compose your films? Because there is a lot of references to science, to literature, to theater, to performance, and also to music. For instance, The White Wolf.
Well, music is very important in that film. I mean, there, apart from live performances from people that were on the set, like these vocals, the kind of death metal vocals that happen in the transformation scene with the doctor. All the piano music were recordings that I had made for a film that I shot in 2005. And I found these piano recordings when I was emptying out a hard drive. And so for me, the recordings were kind of like a ghost coming back from my own past or something. I mean, I just had a very personal relationship to them. And so they were so stripped down, and the performance was really interesting to me in that it was made for something else. I mean, for me, music and seeing music live, you know, especially in the time that I lived in Berlin, because the clubs there are so good, you know, and when you go to see music in Berlin, it's like 3 a.m. or something, and you're kind of out of your mind, and like the music is very physical.
Even your main actress comes out of the music scene, I think. She comes from a band which you like. So music in everywhere. It's very present surrounding you. Very important.
Yeah, Chibomato. It was Yuka Honda from Chibomato is the hypnotist. Not the hypnotist. The key figure in this film, The White Wolf. So like, you know, this moment, the first dream moment in The White Wolf where she puts the sheet on, you know, and then the sound comes and like you see the lighthouse and stuff. We tried that with, you know, 3 different things. We tried a very elaborate makeup on her, and, you know, I shot it with different lighting. And then in the end, it was better just to have the sound and a sheet. That was the weirdest thing. And that was the thing that made you be able to believe that moment as something transcendent. You know, trying to force it with makeup just made it ridiculous. But just giving it with a sheet and a sound, that was strong.
So you are not really a Stanley Kubrick in authority of doing 100 times the same shot in a perfectionist way.
Well, I do the same shot 100 times.
You do that? Really?
Not in an authoritarian way. Yeah, of course. Because I'm always curious about what we didn't shoot, And then I think like the 35th thing is usually the most interesting. So you have to shoot through. And as I get older, I shoot more stuff that I don't include, in the end. I let a lot of good stuff just get cut out and say, well, it'll show up later, I guess, in something else. I don't know.
What is the difference for you between shooting a film and working on a film installation? Is there a difference in just putting them together or already during the production?
I think building an installation is a lot like building a set, where it's just this very luxurious thing of being able to live in that world, that sculptural space. And, I miss it. I think that we're all in lockdown, and there's been a lot of emphasis in the last few years on kind of online presence. And I think there is something about being physically surrounded by objects and moving images that there's nothing else like it. It's just beautiful. And yeah, so that's not an answer.
She was doing this show around town. I'd never seen it, but I'd heard the stories. It must have been the stories that gave me the dreams. I knew her face before she ever said her name. I could remember her, the girl from my dreams.
Last question. Our general topic this year in the 4th edition of Kino der Kunst is about beauty and forbidden beauty, because beauty in contemporary art seems to be something which is not really highly estimated at the moment. What is beauty for you?
Yeah, it's funny how beauty goes in and out of style. I think this is I'm in my second decade now of making work. And for me, and maybe because I was first trained as a painter, that the image, the production of the image and the color particularly is something that's always preoccupied me. And I take a lot of pleasure in making a beautiful image. And for me, part of the motivation to going to the studio is pleasure. Absolutely. So beauty for me is mixed in with that. And I think because I often deal with difficult subjects, that again, this push and pull that I was talking about, that I was interested in, about kind of inviting a viewer in to an experience and then changing all the parameters so that they experience the experience inside out. That beauty is this incredible hook for being able to turn things upside down. I mean, you can take something very aggressive or violent or intellectually challenging and, put a ribbon on it, and it's somehow the worst thing to do, and then also the best thing to do,
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Yeah. You answered a little bit with a question, but I think that's a good answer to answer with a question. Thank you. Thank you, Sue.
Thank you.
Okay.